I do want to thank the Permian Road Safety Coalition for this opportunity. Just like Mr. Smith said, these two ESDs, ESD 1, Emergency Service District 1, primarily focuses on fire. Emergency Service District 2 is EMS, and we're brand new into this area. And so I was really excited to have this opportunity to bring you all up to speed, but more importantly, excited to be in this community to bring those services into this community. So, once again, thank you for this opportunity and being here, and it's awesome and that's the other thing too. Isn't it great to see people coming together again and having some conferences and some luncheon series and learn some stuff and start networking again? So thank you for this opportunity. So first of all, a little bit about the Emergency Service District. Back in August of 2019, the Reeves County community and its residents adopted these two ESDs, okay? And again, these are political subdivisions, so they're taxing entities. In January of 2020, I was hired as the Joint Emergency Services Chief to help bring these two ESDs to life, which again, ESD 1 is fire, ESD 2 is EMS. The area we cover, of course, is the entire 2,600 square miles of Reeves County and the towns, for the exception of the city of Balmorhea, which opted out at the time, but we are currently working to annex them back into the district so we can also serve that community, okay? Again, it's a political subdivision. It's governed by five appointed commissioners. So each board has 5 commissioners. We have some of our commissioners in the room today, so thank you for being here and supporting us. And primarily funded through property taxes, okay? And so this is how all this got started back in 2019. I can tell you that these past 2 years have been an exciting journey with a lot of challenges, but we have the future to look forward to, and we're really excited. So what I want to share with you today is where we were, where we're at, and where we're headed. So my role, again, as the Joint Emergency Services Chief, is my responsibility is for both ESDs. I oversee both the EMS and the fire, ESD 1 and 2. I go and look over personnel, operations, and any plans. And again, I work closely with the boards in order to approve those and make sure that we continue to move forward. Also, one of my responsibilities is to conduct analysis and research on our response area. And I want to share some of that with you today, because a lot of people ask, well, how did you come up with that? Or how did you come up with the locations where you're placing these stations? Well, there's a lot of research and analysis that we had to do to properly identify those areas so we can properly respond into those areas and hopefully reduce response times, but also get the right capability and the right staffing in place to be able to help people when they're in need. Again, part of it too, strategic short and long-term planning. So again, working closely with our 2 boards, developing plans, not just short-term, but how this is going to look 5 and 10 years down the road. Because it's important that whatever we build today is also going to be sustainable for years to come, to continue to serve the community. I hired our command staff, which consists of 2 assistant chiefs. I have 1 assistant chief that focuses directly on fire services, another in EMS services. We have a business manager to help us manage the money as it's coming in, and we're properly following all the rules that we have to follow. And we also have a logistics or an asset management battalion chief and a training battalion chief, because as we continue to build these career departments, we are required to be compliant through the state. As a matter of fact, I'm happy to report we just went and passed our Texas Commission on Fire Protection inspection yesterday with flying colors. So we're very happy about that we're on the right track and doing the right things. And again, I'm the overall point of contact for the ESD boards and, of course, the community. If anybody needs any information, or again, if the board members have any questions or the commissioners have any questions, I work with them to get them that information. So, again, our areas of focus. Well, first thing is we wanted to identify what those issues were. What are the issues, right? So research and analysis. We conducted a threat assessment, okay? We conducted a vulnerability assessment, a needs and a response analysis to identify those threats. We have to understand what the hazards and threats are so we can understand how to prepare for them. The other thing we wanted to do is also develop a master plan, okay? But we wanted to begin with the end in mind. And that's where we started to align, and again, working with multiple stakeholders, which one is here, our emergency management coordinator of Reeves County, worked very closely with him. We wanted to implement. We wanted to begin to build that infrastructure, which I'll share with you here in a little bit. These past few weeks, we actually broke ground on 3 strategically placed ESD stations within the Reeves County community. So we're really excited about that. And finally, execute. We want to serve our community as quickly as possible. And so these are the things that we're going to be focusing on. And I'm happy to report that a lot of this stuff is already happening at different levels and moving forward. So, again, we did what we call a THERA, a Threat and Hazard Identification Risk Assessment. Again, it's a 4-step process. We started identifying threats based on historical documentation and, again, current events. This is where we went out into the community, talked to different stakeholders from different levels of government, businesses, and got this information. We also did a lot of research online. What has happened here in the past? Okay? Believe it or not, we've had floods, we've had fires, we've had a lot of things. Currently, one of the things that we're talking a lot about is we're starting to see earthquakes in the area. So these are things that we're starting to look at and plan for in case we do have to respond. We give these threats and hazards context, we establish desired outcomes, and then we apply those results. And we're going to share some of that with you here in a little bit. So after we were done with this THERA, or this assessment, we identified 18 threats within the Reeves County community. We break them up into 3 categories. Technological, which talks about major accidents. Ms. Ramsey just talked about how many fatalities that we have. For those who don't know, this particular area, we have a portion of the highway at 285 from Pecos all the way to the New Mexico-Texas state line that is known as Death's Highway. And I'm telling you, I've been here 2 years, and I have responded to more fatality accidents in 2 years that I've been here in my 30-year career. So it's an actual issue that we're having here, and we have to be prepared to address it. So that's just one of many of the technological. Environmental, something that's new to me is, of course, our severe dust storms. Never thought that I was going to have to deal with flooding. We had 6 water rescues last year. Never thought I would have to deal with ice and snow. We were shut down for almost a week last year, right? So these are actual threats. One of the ones under environmental is when we prepared this was actually January, February of 2020. And we started working closely with our emergency management coordinator. Well, guess what happened on March of 2020? COVID hit. Pandemic was already on the list, okay? So these assessments really do help responders to prepare. Unfortunately, we don't have that crystal ball that says, hey, this is going to happen. You might want to get this equipment, get this training. So this is the types of things that we do in order to help us prepare. And finally, of course, man-made. We have to be prepared for active shooters. You're seeing that more and more every day. You turn on the news, some active shooter event. We work very closely with our DPS partners, our law enforcement partners in the community. So when we do have an incident like this, we're responding as a team, not individuals or individual groups. And so thank you for law enforcement partners and partnering up with us. So again, these are 18 threats. Then we did a vulnerability assessment. Our vulnerabilities were response times. This was a common theme as we went from one stakeholder to another. And as we would have our conversations and we would ask these questions, the common theme was, it takes too long. And we're like, what are you talking about? It takes too long to get help. I live in the south end of the county. Help's coming out of the Pecos area. Or if your unit's up in the north and we got something in the south, you're looking almost on 1 hour response time or more, okay? So this was a vulnerability. We started also looking at lack of training, okay? Not having a training program that fit the needs of this community. So we had to reevaluate and begin to identify, okay, what is that core, that training core that we have to focus on, all right? Appropriate apparatus and equipment. We respond to a lot of oil and gas, and I know we have some ONG partners in the area. Again, having the right equipment to be safely respond to these calls is a big issue. And I'm going to share with you some of the equipment that's actually being built for us right now, which we'll be receiving here in the next few months, I hope. Water supply, another big issue, okay? We just don't have sufficient water supply throughout the county, so when we have a large event or fire, we have to bring that water with us. And again, we'll show you some of the equipment that we're actually building as we speak. And finally, staffing. 2,600 square miles. We understand that there are certain areas that are populated, but we have to be able to have enough staffing to appropriately respond, but at the same time, provide a safe fire ground or an event for our personnel as well. So we're really focusing a lot on staffing as well. So what we did, again, we did a needs assessment. We identified specific training standard operating procedures. For example, large vehicle rescue. We have a lot of semi versus small vehicle, semi versus semi accidents out here that requires Specific training also requires specific equipment in order to be able to run to these types of fires. We talked about industrial fires and hazardous materials. There's a lot of hazmat running over our roads every day. And unfortunately, when they get into wrecks, now it spills onto our roads. We have to be prepared to respond to that, all right? We talked a little bit about apparatus, having the appropriate types of equipment and apparatus to respond to these things safely, these incidents. And finally, staffing in facilities. So I'm going to show you here in a little bit, we did a heat map based on response data for 2 to 3 years to identify those hotspots within the county. That is what drove where those stations are being built today. Okay, and we'll share that with you here in a little bit. All right, so this is our response data. This is the heat map, and I don't know if you all can see that. I don't know if we can turn off this row of lights, but you can see where things are lit up. The bright areas, that is where we had the large amount of call volume in the issue. If you can see the nice bright spot in the center, that's the city of Pecos, right here where we're at today. But you can go up 285, close to Orla, it's all lit up. Go down south 285, 17, down to the Balmaray area, and then, of course, down 20 towards Toya. This is what we used, this data, this response data, and created this heat map to help us identify where we're going to strategically place these facilities or these ESD stations. Again, currently, the way things have been running is you had 2 volunteer organizations primarily within the county, one here in the Pecos, the city of Pecos, one in Balmaray, and they were pretty much splitting the county in half, okay? So what we're proposing, and then so because we're running a combination department, a career and a volunteer, is we follow an FBA 1710, which states that there are certain response times and locations of apparatus and staffing. If we follow 1710 to the T, we would need approximately 9 ESD stations throughout the community, through the Reeves County community. So what we're asking, going back to our boards, is we ask for 3 strategically placed stations dividing the county into 3 areas, but also with some overlap. So now they're backing each other up. The other piece of this is providing enough staffing, capability, and the right equipment for them to be able to respond immediately and begin to fight a fire, provide treatment to a patient, while the rest of the backup is coming, okay? So they can back each other up. Those of you from here, we have very nice mild summers here, correct? Exactly. 110 degrees, very hot. When we're working a fire of any type, oil and gas, structure, our firefighters can only take so much. So we have to bring those additional resources so we can begin a rotation, giving them enough time to rehab and then put them back into the fight, okay? So we strategically based these fires. Now the staffing, right now these are proposed. We are working with our commissioners and getting data for them to make a decision for us here in the near future. But we want to staff these stations with 8 fire personnel, 24/7, 365. That gives us what we call 2 companies, 2 trucks fully manned, ready to go. In addition to that, on the ESD2 side, we want to man each station with 2 ambulances with a total of 4 EMS providers at each station, okay, on every day, 24/7, 365. Now, we're currently broke ground, and I'm happy to report, past couple of weeks with these 3 stations. And hopefully within the next 15 to 16 months, we're going to be moving in and providing these services to these areas. Now, we want to run trending for a few years. If the trending comes back positive where there's enough funding, we want to come back and request a 4th station close to Toya. Those of you who are from here know that we have a lot of accidents at the split, especially during the winter. In addition to our responders have to travel this space, and when it's icy or snowy conditions like we just had a few weeks ago, it also puts our responders at risk. By getting them to Toya, meets them halfway, okay? So once again, these are the plans and things that we're looking at in order to begin to prepare and be able to provide these services, okay? This is a little bit more of the staffing that I just talked about, and eventually, hopefully, we can have the 4th station, which then we would divide the county into 4 response areas with overlapping personnel. All right, let's talk a little bit about our stations. This is actually being built. The ground was broken just the other day. This is what we're going to call Central's ESD station. We wanted to be able to provide a facility that's just not a station, but also the headquarters for Emergency Service District, okay? This is where our board of directors or board of commissioners would meet to conduct their meetings. This is where our ESD staff, command staff would be, so if anybody has any questions, we can be able to assist and be able to assist the public. And there's classrooms also to provide training to the community and so on and so forth. Everything to the right, your right here, this would be Station 1. This is where the responders are going to be coming out of and responding with enough capability. Now, this station, again, we decided to do it as one building so we could save money by co-sharing classrooms, break rooms, restrooms, those kinds of things. And so when we crunched the numbers, this it came out that this would be the best route to, instead of doing two separate buildings, a headquarters and a station. So again, very excited. We actually have an address, 2261 Ocotillo Drive. It's off of County Road 204, those who don't know. Again, it's going to be our headquarters in Station 1, and we plan on running, again, engines, ambulances, and of course, other equipment to meet the needs of the community. All right, Station 2, this is going to be up in Orla, actually 8.5 miles south of Orla on 285. The actual address is 2907 U.S. Highway 285 North. If you're familiar, it's right across the street from Permian Lodge. And again, they've already provided broken ground and provided the pad there. Again, very similar capability with enough staffing like we talked about earlier. Finally, on the south end, we have ESD Station 3, 209 Interstate 10 West. Again, close to Interstate 10 West and County Road 312. Again, right off Interstate 10 gives us access east and west, and also we can cut back up 17 to get back into the town of Pecos for support. So it really allows us to back each other up. All right, this facility here is our current facility. We call it ESD Station 5 or Logistics. This is our temporary station for now, okay? We're actually busting at the seams and really crowded, but we're making it work. But it's allowing us in a limited capacity to begin to respond into the community. So you will see, our responders. Right? We did purchase 5 of the Pecos Volunteer Fire trucks, and we rebranded them with ESD. So those are ESD employees already responding to the community. And as we continue to move forward and open these other stations, of course, we'll be able to get those resources and personnel to the other ends of the county as well. All right. Address the threat. We have to have the right equipment. Okay, it's like I always say, you can't take a square peg and put it in a round hole. It doesn't work. You can force it in there, but someone's going to get hurt in the process. So we did a lot of research through our vulnerability and needs assessment on what we needed to appropriately respond. So one of the first things, of course, is we added new EMS MICUs. The ambulance service that was here at the time was running a smaller chassis, but their chassis were only lasting about 3 to 4 years because of the rough conditions that we have here. So we actually reached out into the ONG community and started asking them, hey, what are chassis that are holding up out here? Can give you some more years out of them. So they told us international chassis, so we found an international chassis that gave us the capability, 4x4, liquid suspension, and we're hoping to get anywhere from 5 to 6, maybe 7 years out of these rigs. So get more bang for our buck. All right, told you, water's a big issue for us. Every station, we're planning on putting what we call an engine, and technically it's what we call a pumper tender. Carries 3,000 gallons of water, has a drop tank, also carries foam we use for other things, but more importantly, it has a cab that can carry up to 6 firefighters, to include volunteers, and we have the box or the body of the truck also has the space to carry all of the firefighting equipment, okay? Each station will get one of these. That means we'll have a total of 9,000 gallons at our disposal that we can bring anywhere into the county immediately, okay? Not having to request assistance, even though we do need it at times depending on the fire. So this is already, we should see 2 of these here in the next few months. They're finalizing production, and we'll be bringing them in service in our community. This particular vehicle here, this is, we're calling it a tower. This is specifically for oil and gas, okay? This, actually, I got to give Chief Mack some credit. Chief Mack is from Eddy County in New Mexico. He's here in the back somewhere. And there he is. And he opened his doors up to us. We went up, spent time with his personnel, showed us their program and what they're doing with this program in this particular truck. And let me tell you, they have actually come in and mutualated us multiple times this past year to help us. And the unique thing about this particular truck is this boom right here. This allows us to pull up to these tank battery fires, and instead of fighting them from the ground, we can actually raise this boom and fight it from above and put the water and foam where it needs to go, okay? The other thing it carries, again, 1,250 gallons of water, 200 gallons of foam, which again, for O&G fires, we need that. So the other nice thing about this truck is that we can also use it for other things. We can use it for structural firefighting as well. So it's going to be a multi-purpose truck as well. So we're really excited. We talked about the accidents that we respond to and the type of equipment, because we have large vehicles that we deal with. So instead of trying to get large vehicle stabilization equipment on every station and so on and so forth, we decided to go with a heavy rescue, put all that equipment into that one truck, house it out of Pecos, and as we get calls, they can respond from here as the other units are arriving. And if they're needed, they're 20 minutes behind, but we still have people on scene that can begin treatment at the time. So really excited to get this one down. Stations 2 and 3 on the north and south will get some smaller rescues just to have some equipment, mostly deal with passenger vehicles, that kind of thing, smaller vehicles. Again, here in Pecos, we're bringing in an aerial device. We do have hotels that are 3 to 4 stories, or some of our courthouses are also 2 to 3 stories. So this will allow us to be able to get up there if we need to perform a rescue. If we have individuals trapped on the 2nd or 3rd floor, we can get up there and bring this down. This is also being in production now, will be in our community very soon. Finally, of course, we do have brush fires. We just past weekend worked a 106-acre brush fire in the south end of the county. These are some what we call Type 3 and Type 5 brush trucks that have the capability to get off the road, get into the brush, and actually chase these fires and not let them get out of control. So these are small, agile trucks. We do have a few of these coming, actually one apiece coming this our way as well. All right, a little bit about EMS. Again, we have been transitioning over the past year, again, between private and our service, and we're currently at this particular time, the ESD2 is serving the city of Pecos area, okay, and we have a contract with AMR in the north and south end. As our stations open, we're going to go ahead and move our equipment into the north and south end. So we're hoping sometime in probably May 1st of 2023, we'll be able to go ahead and take charge of the entire county on the EMS side as well. All right, next steps. Again, we're finishing up renovation with our temporary station. All of the 3 stations that we just talked about are under construction as we speak. We hope and pray that we don't run into any supply chain issues and that kind of thing, so we can stick to our 14 to 16 month construction timeline. And if everything works out, April of 23, we hope to move in. On the fleet side, like I stated already, everything's pretty much in production. We already have 4 of our MICUs, our ambulances already here responding to the community. Staffing, again, the command staff has been hired, but we're still working on response personnel as well and cadet programs. And of course, we're continuing to work on our administrative policies as we continue to develop the 2 ESDs.